My name is Roel Houwer, and I'm a senior product manager at VanEck. For the people that don't know VanEck yet, have a quick overview of who we are. We are a privately owned index provider managing around 110 billion in assets globally. We pride ourselves of creating innovative and forward-looking strategies. And innovation in the sense that we select strategies that will grow, hopefully, in the future, but we commit to it, and we have a great and sophisticated team behind it. And one of these strategies I'm going to present to you today. So that is the defense strategy, investing in stocks, defense stocks. The sector has been in development. Well, as you all probably will know, there's a lot going on in the world. So the sector is is growing quite rapidly, and I will tell you about how you can devise and how we devise the strategy to invest in that in the defense sector. So the defense sector, the story of the defense sector, has traditionally been one of underinvestment. After the Cold War, especially in the EU, it's been very quiet. Militaries in countries' deployment has been mostly overseas and in aiding third world countries, etc. And obviously there was a lot of dependence on the US, the big brother, to help us out if anything would go wrong. That has led to not many NATO countries meeting their 2% GDP spend requirement. And to exemplify that, you can see the 2022 Inspector General report on the German military. You see that only 30% of helicopters of the German army were available, 60% of tanks, and the list is quite long. We've written down here that the results of the report were unsatisfactory, but you could easily use a bit more of a, that's a bit of an understatement. However, because of the tensions in the EU, Ukraine is an example, the tides are definitely changing. Not only are there more global tensions, but also the US has repeatedly stated that EU countries and other NATO countries need to meet their 2% spend debt requirement. That is actually now happening because of everything that's going on and the geopolitical tensions around the world. So currently, NATO expects 18 of the 31. I think that should actually, with Sweden now added, be 32 countries. Apologies for that. But 18 of those of the NATO countries will meet the 2% requirement. And we're here, obviously, in beautiful Poland. Poland is leading the pack with almost 4% spend of GDP on defense and defense capabilities. The two graphs you see here are of the German public opinion that is changing, and is another example of the shift from where the defense sector used to be almost a dirty word for investors, something that they would be hesitant to invest in. Now the public opinion is changing a lot, and you see, for example, the right graph, that now the general public in Germany, more than 50% is for aiding other countries and allies, and well over almost 60% is for increased defense spending. that bodes well for the defense sector, obviously, with rising revenues. And it is a long-term development because the political environment is also favoring increased investment. So these are a couple of quotes from, for example, Bundeskanzler Scholz, who is trying to, together also with von der Leyen, the EU chairman, or the EC chairman, to try to collectively spend more on defense and also to make it more efficient. And one of the issues with the defense spending and the defense budgets was that every country was spending for their own military, and that, for example, a tank built or ammunition produced in one country would not be usable for another military. Well, a lot of efforts being made, and these quotes and plans are an example of that. The EU new defense plan is the biggest step that the EU has collectively taken to increase investments. There is also underlying the reasoning behind investing in defense. Some people would be hesitant because you feel like you are investing in war. However, that is not driving the returns, the good returns of the defense industry. There are stockpiles when a war or something happens, there is a conflict, those stockpiles will be depleted first. So that doesn't mean that immediately an arms producer will have more work to do or more to produce. However, and sadly, the long-term drivers of return are still there, and they don't seem to be disappearing anytime soon. So a couple of examples. Modern warfare includes cyber attacks and defense against cyber attacks. I will get back to that later on how the strategy that I'm discussing today is devised. Russian-NATO tensions, but also China-US tensions that are long-term drivers. Climate risk, you can imagine that when the temperatures keep rising, you get all sorts of environmental disaster. Military will be needed to come to the aid of countries. But also, there are third world countries, for example, who suffer the most from increased or from climate change. And they are making a stance and a fist to get aid and for the developed countries to take responsibilities. So these are all long-term drivers of the defense industry, and a bit odd to say, but positive signs for revenues and profits of the sector. So how would you invest in, how would you come up with a strategy that actually reaps the rewards of and targets the right companies? I can imagine that you as a private person would not immediately see which company to invest in. This is not something you discuss at the dinner table. Which company is thriving the most now in the defense sector? That is why VanEck has, together with index provider Market Factor, has devised the strategy and devised one that really targets the pure play defense companies. So one of the rules is the strategy only would select companies that gain at least 50% of their revenue from defense-related activities. We're here obviously at the Passive Investment Conference. So this is an index strategy. It is transparent. It's a mechanical strategy. So, you know, companies 50% revenue are invested in. Also, there's a minimum requirement of investing in 25 companies at least. And to ensure diversification, excuse me, only a maximum of 8% can be invested in each company. And then there is to make sure that bad actors are not included in the strategy. There is a controversy and a controversial weapons screen. So companies involved in biological weapons manufacturing would not be included. If a company is involved with a government that is in violation of international treaties, etc., will also not be included in the strategy. Which, to be fair, when you're investing in an industry like this, is a reassurance and makes you sleep better at night, I think. The strategy also includes specifically cyber security and the modern way wars are these days conducted. So cybersecurity, satellites and communication. In the previous slide where I spoke about the General Inspector report on the German Army, I thought it was quite shocking to note that most communication of the army in Germany was still just via phone, or at least not digital at all. So this is part of, and cyber attacks are growing and is a long-term driver. So we specifically included this in the strategy. Analytics and event response software and training and simulation, all part of modern-day defense activities and defense industry. And this results in a very handsome outperformance. So this graph is not just to show you that performance has been great, that the defense industry has performed exponentially well, you could almost say. But the fact that it performed so well means that any good strategy needs to show that, because then you know that you've devised the right strategy. So you see here over 30% outperformance versus the standard MSCI World. I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with that index, but that's sort of the standard global benchmark. I'll show you in the next slide as well. You get a positive allocation effect because the strategy invests specifically also in cybersecurity. Well, IT sector, as you may know, has performed very well last year. But defense IT stocks have performed even better. So you get a positive allocation effect. And then within that sector, you also select the even better performing companies. And a good selection, that selection effect is because you target the pure play companies, so that gain at least 50% of their revenue from the defense sector. This is just to exemplify that allocation and selection effect. Don't have a laser pointer, do we? Okay, well, I'll just keep it brief. The two large bars in the middle of the third column exemplify that selection effect. So this means that not only do you pick the right sectors, the industrials, but within that sector you select the right companies owing to this strategy. And then these are basic attributes. Passive investing is all about diversification. In terms of sectors, there is not a lot of diversification. However, that is because it specifically focuses on the defense industry. However, you do see that inclusion of 10% of IT stocks, because the strategy takes into account modern warfare, so cybersecurity, etc. You do see a very healthy spread over different companies, and that's because there's an 8% weight cap, and also there's a minimum of 25 companies included in the strategy. And then a diversification over the world, over the regions. Still a very large percentage in the US, but hey, they have historically spent the most on defense, so it is not a surprise that most of the activities and companies are concentrated in that region. Contacts. I'm not sure if you sent the presentation afterwards, but always welcome to give us a call directly. And also, this is important information. My legal department has obliged me to show this to you. So you will be tested at the door when you leave. Thanks very much. It's been a pleasure being here. Thank you.